So you signed Micah and Derek yesterday. What are your initial thoughts on what those guys bring to you? Adding two more big guys to the post, and does this mean you guys are done with this class or not?
Well, I think both these guys. They both have good size and strength. Both can move the weight around a little bit, that sort of thing. But they're different in terms of Micah can. He's very good around the basket, but has really expanded his game since we first started recruiting him in terms of a kind of like a stretch big guy. Derek is long, he's athletic. Just watching his skill develop over time, he's a guy that both these guys are extremely hard workers. Both these guys were very excited to come to the Ohio State University, and it's funny, we've usually had the most success with those types of young men. So, we're excited adding them into it. In terms of where we go from here, we're always recruiting, but I know we probably don't need much more size anymore, especially with what's coming down the pipe for us.
Thad, you just said you don't stop recruiting, but I mean, people know the numbers. When you're out on the road recruiting, when you're full, what is the message to potential players when you're in that situation?
The odds of in college basketball nowadays, a team staying together is almost slim to none, and so we have to do our job in terms of being prepared if something happens. And NBA, overseas, whatever transfers, whatever that situation may be, we have to be ready. A lot like D'Angelo last year, how we got Jaquan. I mean, it was I kind of had a sense in my stomach he probably wasn't coming back for a sophomore year, and we got fortunate in that regard.
And you have two guys coming in who opted to go the prep school route for their final years. Both guys said it was a basketball move to try to get better. You saw Daniel go through that last year. Do you see marked improvement in guys when they play just against better competition at the high school level?
I don't know. First and foremost, contrary to most people's belief, we've never had anything to do with sending a kid to a prep school. I always tell them that, hey, I want my children at home as long as they possibly can be if they ask. But, I think both families were looking for something different. And, it seems like I've been down to both places, seen the kids. They seem to be enjoying themselves. And I love Derek's picture yesterday with all his uniform on and everything. But I don't know if there's that much of a difference. I think so much of it just depends on the kid.
Like you said, you have a lot of size now in the post going forward. How do you see, I know it's looking ahead, but when they get here, how do you see them fitting in with the nucleus of young guys you already have that are kind of young?
Well, I think that it allows us more of the ability to play bigger, just in terms of can we play a stretch four? Can we put two bigs out there? A lot of it's always predicated on the defensive end of the floor, but I like those options. I like that both guys are highly skilled and can do a lot of different things. So, players find their way to the court, and coaches find ways to use them to the best of their abilities.
That it seems like Micah maybe compared to the guys you've signed the bigs you've signed the last couple of years who have been more maybe longer athletic guys. Micah seems maybe to be a little more versatile offensively in what he can do, and I think you touched on that. Just adding that kind of weapon to your lineup next year, what does that do for you guys?
Well, I think it makes us more multidimensional. Because Micah has great strength, and one of the things watching him this summer, I loved how he rebounded the basketball. He understood angles, he understood positioning, and those are things sometimes that are sort of hard to teach. I think with Derek, we've seen him kind of expand his game. He's a high energy type player, plays with a lot of emotion, and with his size and his length, that's something that once again that's hard to teach.
Coach, does Make any sort of difference that these two guys are from Ohio? That you got two Ohio kids rather than going to other places in the country?
Yeah, I hope so. I think from the standpoint of for those guys getting back home when they get back, and both come from very family-oriented situations, stable homes. That I think it's a good thing for them. And like I said, the thing I like about these two guys is they have a great appreciation not only for our program, but most importantly the university. And that's something that we are always looking for in recruiting. So the fact they're from Ohio is probably a good thing.
Considering the depth and quality of talent in-state and the 2016 class, did you find yourself and staff recruiting Ohio more heavily than you usually do?
Yeah, it seemed that way. We're recruiting so many classes now, I'm trying to do the numbers. But yeah, I think that it was, we were pretty set on what we wanted, and fortunately both guys accepted early in the recruitment, stayed true to their word.
We talked after the game on Sunday about improving the defense. I know that's a common refrain early in the season. I just wonder what you guys have done this week to try to address that.
Yeah, a lot of film, a lot of breaking down just certain situations, and our biggest thing is we just weren't really aware of what was going on. And as we told them, there's three types of people that play. There's those that watch things happen, those that make things happen, and those that wonder what the blank just happened. And we were more in the third category a couple times of understanding what's going to happen, and we didn't anticipate real well. We didn't just react the way we needed to, and trying to stage as much as we can is huge for us.
I know Mount St. Mary's shoots a lot of threes. They seem to play very up-tempo. Is it similar at all? Did Walsh prepare you at all for what Mount will do?
Yeah, I think so. Mount St. Mary's, from what we've seen, and just watching them from last year, they've shown fast-paced. Like you said, they're not afraid to pull a quick three, run a ton of ball screen, different types of ball screens. So I think the way Walsh lived and died by the three the other day is probably as good a preparation as we could get going into this game.
Is the lineup that we saw, the starting lineup against Walsh, what we'll see Sunday, or does Jay Sean work his way back in there?
Yeah, today will be the first day Jay Sean practices. He's been doing everything, but he hasn't practiced, so could alter it a little bit. Had he been healthy, I would have started him.
This has nothing really to do with your team, but it has to do with Ohio State. I don't know how much you observe the women's team, but they're opening with the #2 team on the road, and then they play the #1 team at home. Just curious, as a coach leading any kind of team into that situation, what your thoughts might be on that, if you think Coach McGuff's a crazy person for trying to do that.
No, I think this, Kevin has done a tremendous job in what he's assembled in 3 short years. And for them, I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year in terms of just how good they are. And I think women's basketball is a little bit different than men's, because and Kevin and I have talked about this, the parity isn't across the board the way it is in college basketball, because in women's basketball, probably the last 5 years, there's been 4 teams each year that could conceivably win the national championship. In men's basketball, you've got 20 teams, that maybe 25 teams on a given year that could win the national championship. And as Kevin said, he goes, hey, we're trying to get in that top 4, and they're going to come out of Monday night's game and have a real good understanding where they are.
Could you imagine ever taking a team into a situation where you're opening with the top 2 teams in the country off the bat?
It is unique. There's no doubt. I don't know if he knew that going in when he made the schedule, but yeah, that would be challenging, no question about it. At least I got one of them at home.
I asked the players when they were in here about Keita and how assertive he was, and just seemed to be maybe opposite almost of how he played a lot of last season, where he was passing up stuff to to, maybe not step on somebody's toes or anything. Are you looking forward to him taking more of a frontline approach? And have you seen him do that, I guess, in the last month or so?
Yes, we need Keita to be with that type of mentality in terms of looking to attack things, especially offensively. I told him Sunday morning at shoot-around, I said, if you miss your first shot short, I'm taking you out. And because I want you, and he did miss short, but then he went and dunked, I think, the next one. So I said, okay, you got to pass. But no, I think that's something that we need from Keita. We saw glimpses of that last year, and now, it's kind of his turn to have that role, and he's got to continue to challenge himself. And I know this. He's a great young man and wants to do the job.
I want to ask about Mark. I can't remember a guy ever playing 40 minutes in an exhibition game before, but I just wonder, was that a function of not having Jay Sean as part of your rotation, how close the game was?
Yeah, it was.
Or just we're leaning on you and you need to be the leader
right.
who's omnipresent.
Well, Jay Sean and Mickey, to be honest, that took a little bit out of that, just in terms of we knew somebody was going to log a lot of minutes. We weren't exactly sure who, but Mark was the recipient of it.
And were you happy with? He played better than he did at any time since prior to when he stopped playing last year.
Right. Yeah, I did. I thought Mark, a lot like Keita, was pretty aggressive with his approach, and both those guys have got to do a better job of getting these young guys more into the fold, especially defensively, talking them through situations, giving them maybe a little bit more help or whatever we need to do. But those are things that I'm constantly in those three, Jay Sean, Mark, and Keita's ear about.
Going back to scheduling, this isn't South Carolina or UConn, but you've got a program coming in here Sunday. It's been kind of sneaky good, and you talked about them being up tempo, and you got a young team. You already mentioned that, and they're pretty happy with 92 points the other night. So I'm just, is this kind of a scary game for you where they could get in another shootout and not realize
right.
the real bullets thing?
Well, no question. I think that's the greatest thing that came out of Sunday's game was our guys believed they didn't play very well, and to a man they each said we have to get better individually, we have to get better collectively, and the two practices from Monday to Tuesday, we were off yesterday, we got 3 leading into it. They've been very responsive to what we're trying to do, because it was very glaring when you look at the film and say, hey, you have no idea where the basketball is. You're way out of position. So, those are the type of things I think guys are getting better at.
You brought up Mickey. Has there been some type of finding or anything from, I assume, the NCAA or whoever about what his status is, and do you expect any kind of announcement anytime soon?
I don't know in terms of an announcement. Obviously, I can't get into the technicalities of it, but we've got our fingers crossed, and it's probably taking a little bit longer than we think it should. But you know how that is. We're not the ones doing it, so we shall see. Hopefully, just for his sake, because it's very, very hard on him.